Welcome to Digging Deeper with Backyard Farmer. I'm your host, Kim Todd. On Digging Deeper, we have in-depth discussions with experts about important landscape topics. Tonight, we're going to take a deep dive into the Nebraska Extension Master Gardener Program. You know, you might have heard the term Master Gardener on our Backyard Farmer program pretty much every week, but a lot of people really don't know exactly what that is. So we have Terry James, who is our State Extension Master Gardener Coordinator, to tell us what that is. And we have a Master Gardener, John Cariato. So let's start with Terry or John. Describe what is the Master Gardener program.
Well, the Master Gardener program is a program that is nationwide, actually internationally, where land-grant universities teach good science-based horticultural information to people who just love to garden and want to know more and want to know how to garden in a very good IPM method.
Okay, and so if it's national and you are statewide, there are state programs, county programs. I mean, what exactly happens here to become a Master Gardener?
Well, it's going to depend, obviously, across the state. But here in Nebraska, what you need to do is you need to go to your closest county that has a program, and you can find that on the Extension website. But what you would do is you would sign up. There is a fee that covers basically all your materials that you get. And then you just go to class and you learn and you get to meet people that have similar interest. One of the best parts of the program is the camaraderie that you gain when you get to know all these people. And I think John will be able to explain that a little bit better, but you get taught by Extension educators and specialists, all about pathology, insects, soils, climate, a little bit of everything. And then what you have to do in return of that education is give some volunteer time.
And the volunteer time really depends on the county, or is that, again, it's rigid or it's flexible?
It's a little more flexible. It will depend on kind of the county and what projects they have. Lincoln and Omaha have a little bit more rigid programming just because we're a bigger population, whereas when you get out into central and western Nebraska, then it's a little more fluid, but they're always a community project of some kind or another. We've talked about the Grow a Row and the donation garden that Backyard Farmer does. There's actually several of those across the state that Master Gardeners are working on. So that would be one of them. There's Ask a Master Gardener tables. They work at farmers markets and help answer gardening questions. Some of them work in city parks or around their town centers. So it's going to vary across the state.
All right, and obviously that would be community-based, whatever community needs that has that public,
correct.
Not private. Is that correct? No,
that is
no
correct.
private.
You can't do your neighbor's backyard.
Right, that doesn't count for Master
Correct.
Gardener. So is there, you mentioned the word class, and since I teach, that suggests a test. Is there a test?
There is a test.
All right.
Yes.
Yeah.
The state does require a test at the end of the 40 hours of education that you receive. But we look at it as it's open book, open neighbor, so open note.
Open Google.
Open Google, but we do teach you the right Google sites to go find.
Which is perfect. Yeah, so 40 hours is the standard to become a Master Gardener.
Correct.
And then is it like continuing education after that? What does that entail?
Yep, if you want to stay as a certified Master Gardener, again, it's going to depend on your location, but the minimum state requirements are 10 hours of continuing ed each year and then 20 hours of volunteer time each year. There are a handful of counties that have increased that, so you just have to check with your local coordinator to find out what those would be.
All right, so John, your turn.
Okay.
You are a Master Gardener.
Yes.
How long ago did you decide you wanted to be one? and what has that experience been like?
2005, I was in the second campus class. We have two programs, as you know, in Lancaster County. The one at Extension is during the day, and since I was working, I couldn't attend that. And when the campus program with the evening classes became available, I signed up for that in the second year. And you and Ann Strike were running that, and that was a fun program, and I've certainly learned a lot each year, something new each year by going to the classes.
So 2005,
Yes.
14 years worth of advanced Master Gardener training, and
This is my 15th year that we're wrapping up.
wow, and all those hours of volunteer time,
Mm-hmm.
right? So talk about what you do as a Master Gardener volunteer.
I've done a lot of things as a Master Gardener volunteer. Ann Strike got involved with the other commercial TV station here in Lincoln, and we built a garden over there and improved the soil and planted a big garden and worked on it. And the group that we had together, you and Terry asked if I could put together some people to work in a backyard farmer garden about 10 years ago. And it was a plot that was filled with strawberries and was 10 feet by 10 feet. And now we have a whole bunch. And I've been working there for all that time.
For all the time, and it shows. And again, we mention every single week the Master Gardeners and what they do for us, for Backyard Farmer. People probably recognize you and your name, John, because you are one of the phone panelists.
Yes.
So talk about being a phone panelist, answering the questions that don't come in to us. Fun experiences or weird ones?
It's been, well, there are some weird experiences and there are a lot of fun experiences. I got in just at the right time to get well acquainted with Gladys and George Edgar. And those were a couple of very fun and knowledgeable people. And there are a lot of fun and knowledgeable people in the Master Gardener program. And it's been terrific to be able to work with those people and over the years and get to know a lot of people quite well. The phone panel, we get calls from all over the place, not just here in Nebraska. And sometimes people are asking, I got a call from Georgia one time, and a lady wanted to know why her green beans all died at the same time. And we've had, a lot of really fun calls.
So the phone panel rotates by phone. So Terry, you set that up and you participate in that. Probably our viewers don't really realize how that works. They just, at the very end of the show, they see 6 red phones and some people sitting. So talk about how a call comes in and then what happens.
Well, so there's 5 of us that answer the phone each night, and the phones ring. So if one's busy, then it just continuously rings through to the next one. Sometimes they'll get a busy signal and they'll have to just keep calling in, but they all answer different questions, and it's very interesting. They all rotate. We put a schedule together at the beginning of the year, and then, just like lots of county programs have Master Gardeners answering their phones in their county office. The campus program doesn't have a county office, so that's kind of what the the campus program does. This is our phone bank.
So do you get consistent callers? Can you kind of tell from week to week that, oh, that person has called before, that person has called?
There's a few that I do recognize, but usually we're not really on the phone with them for very long. So
do you get callers who call and don't like the answer and then call and want a different answer? Because of course we kind of get that on occasion.
We get that much more than, yes.
The person that seemed to get that more than any other was Gladys. And Gladys is the person that knew. And she would get a caller and they would call and talk to me and want a different answer than they got from Gladys. You were talking to the expert, ma'am.
Well, and she really was, and so that's kind of fun. So there are people who are fearful of doing that kind of phone answering as master. They just don't want to do it. John or Terry, in your experience, can they get over that, or is that just, I mean, to do it often enough, or is there just that fear in some people and they simply cannot do that?
Well, I think you can, when we have new people, we do pair them up, or I'll sit with them and answer the phone with them the first couple times to kind of help get them through. A lot of times we'll ask each other questions if people don't know what it is that they're calling. If there's somebody not on the phone, they'll say, hey, I have this question. So we're all there to help. We do look stuff up. 2 or 3 of us usually either have our phones or our computers, and we can help look stuff up. So there's not really anything fearful, but some people just don't like to do that. So there's multiple different things that, as a Master Gardener, your volunteers can do. So,
right.
There's office work, computer work. So some of that stuff that people would rather do, kind of an independent project, there's always things for people to do.
All right. Well, if you're watching us, of course, we want you to give us your comments, and we always really like the thumbs up, a lot better than the thumbs down. This is Digging Deeper is really an experiment this year, and I think it's one that is really getting some legs. People are liking it, but we sure want to hear your ideas. And of course, you can watch us on NET, and you can watch us on Backyard Farmer, and that's the way this works. All right, so let's talk about a little more in depth about some of those activities. So you mentioned some of the places, schools and parks, and of course the Backyard Farmer Garden. Gardening is not for the faint of heart, nor tiny of slender little really can't do much if you're out in the garden. Is that correct? Or can people who really don't have a lot of physical strength, can they still do that kind of hands-on Master Gardener work in the gardens?
Oh, sure. There's lots of things that have been adapted for people to use in the garden. There's all those ergonomic tools that make gardening much more accessible. We do have raised beds, we have containers. So if you can't, lean over, what have you, then there's definitely options that you can do. But, I think that gardening is for everybody. People need gardening for their health, for their mental health, for their physical health. So in order to learn it well, going through the Master Gardener program is a great option.
So John, what activities that you have participated in do you really, really enjoy? What do you like the best?
Well, of course, the thing that's really fun and where we get the most people who want to come and help is when we start planting the seeds for the next year, and it's January and it's snowing, and we go into the warm greenhouse and start filling the containers and planting seeds and getting them to grow, or taking care of the cuttings that we took before frost. And going into the greenhouse and doing that is probably the most popular thing with all of the Master Gardeners, and that's when we get the most volunteers. And when it's August, the end of July and early August, and it's 185 degrees and the humidity is the same, it's harder to get people to come and work in the garden. But we've had really a terrific turnout this year. We've had a lot of people.
Well, and I think there was a lot of mulch moved this morning, and it was about 185, and the humidity was about 185.
Well, we got here at 8 and 9 o'clock this morning, and it was fairly pleasant early on, and Ann had been working hard and distributed a lot of the mulch, and by the time we got it all in, it was only 9:30 or so, so it was bearable.
So one of the things that I know you have done, John, and we see this also across the state, Master Gardeners actually help with education. So whether it is touring or actual programming, how much of that occurs? And again, how does that happen, really?
Well, it's going to depend on the program, and it's going to depend on the coordinator. But really, what as a coordinator, what we really want to do is we really want to set up the Master Gardeners so that they are able then to go out and help disseminate our science-based horticultural information, and we really try to get them able to do that. So I know John's talked to Kiwanis groups. I know other people have talked to Kiwanis groups across the state in different programs. We've had a couple Master Gardeners who have gone to homeowners associations and talked to like pollinators or insects or pollinator plants, prairie plants. So they kind of find a niche and what they really like to talk about, and they sometimes know more about it than even you or I do.
Sure.
So they go and they talk to the community, and that's really what the Master Gardener program is supposed to do. They're supposed to be our boots on the ground to really help get that good science-based information out.
You're telling me you can't be everywhere at once?
I can't. I try.
So we have the extension URL available so people can actually see where to go for more information. There is a deadline for becoming a new one, and there is typically a cap on numbers. Is that correct?
Yeah, most programs have a cap. Again, it's going to depend wherever you're at. So you're just going to have to check with your local coordinator to find that out.
Okay, so John, how do we get younger people interested in becoming Master Gardeners as it becomes a little trickier to get up and down out of that garden for some of the heavy tasks in particular?
Yeah, it's you were talking about, can everybody do the jobs? We always have jobs that people can do.
Right.
If it's deadheading or something like that, then pretty much anybody can take care of that. Not everybody is going to want to handle a wheelbarrow full of compost. Mm-hmm. I lost my train here.
Young people. How are we going to get more young people?
I think that what we're doing with the Backyard Farmer Garden here is important. If we get people to come and look and be interested, and Terry did some terrific cards this year, business cards with the websites, and we've been handing those out to the people who come, who are interested enough to come and visit the garden. They may be interested in becoming Master Gardeners, and I think that if they have the ability to get hold of the right people and sign up, then they may do that. But we need to let people know that this program is available, and it's not intimidating. It's not difficult to get in. It's not difficult to complete the program, and the requirements are certainly not insurmountable.
Which is really a good thing to hear. And I know, Terry, you're working on putting at least some of your education materials online.
Yeah, we're actually working on putting the complete program online, mostly for those outstate counties that don't necessarily have a horticulturist close by. And then they're going to be able to have those programs available. So should be done hopefully within the next 6 months.
Which will be really good, as you said, for the people that are kind of out there ways.
Right.
And I know you and I have gone out to Scotts Bluff on occasion and done Master Gardener
We have.
training, which is, it's wonderful to go. It's also a long ways.
It is a long ways.
And I think not in terms even of us going. I think of the Master Gardeners who come all the way down from Alliance or up from Kimball or somewhere like that just to participate. So that's a good option, I think, for people.
Yeah, we do have online training statewide. So there are usually 3 or 6, depending on the year, statewide training. So we're able to broadcast some of the more advanced trainings across the state. But yeah, I do know Scotts Bluff. Kimball drives up from Scotts Bluff, and Box Butte drives into Scotts Bluff. So they do have to drive a ways when you get further out.
We're Nebraskans. We're used to driving.
From a student standpoint, coming to the classes is really an experience because you get to learn from really expert teachers who are really interesting and fun. And I'm sitting with two of them right here. But there are a lot of other folks that come in and talk to us.
Yeah.
And I remember many of those presentations from not just from this year, but from years past.
Yeah, and there's something to be said for that combination of face-to-face and online face-to-face. Well, thanks Terry and John for talking about this, and unfortunately that is all the time we do have for Digging Deeper with Backyard Farmer. You can watch a new Digging Deeper on Facebook every Sunday night at 6:30 p.m. Central. Do not miss Backyard Farmer Live every Thursday at 7 p.m. Central on NET. Thanks for digging deeper with Backyard Farmer.